My guest today is Sean Quick. Sean is the former head of pricing and yield at Yahoo. He has deep experience around programmatic migrations. Today, we're going to try something a little bit different. We're going to try a fast hit format on the question of things that I've heard from publishers about going programmatic that may or may not be correct. So I'm going to ask a question and Sean is going to respond in a minute or so as to whether that is a truth or whether it is a fallacy. Sean, welcome. Are you ready?
Nope. You know I don't like videos, but let's do it, James. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure, my friend. All right, first fallacy, and I'm calling it a fallacy, but here's something I have heard from publishers many times, which is when I go programmatic, everything is going to be easier because it is automated. Programmatic means less people, less oversight, and therefore less need for internal functions. Is that your experience?
Programmatic is anything but simple. I would call it highly complex with a lot of challenges in just getting there. I've seen both directions of somebody trying to go from programmatic to premium or premium back to programmatic, and there's a lot of decisions and things that have to be put in place. There is no silver bullet. The true answer is somewhere in between, but when you go towards a more programmatic offering, you have to think about your marketplace architecture. What demand do you let in? What do you give them access to? What inventory do you want to expose? What's your pricing and priority? Header bidder solutions, other vendors you need to work with. There's a lot that needs to be put in place on just setting up your marketplace. Then you have a lot of packaging and maintenance. So how are you going to put your supply together in a way that's attractive to buyers and performs for your different set of buyers? And how do you bring your audience to the table for that? Who do you give it access to? How do you apply it to your media, to third-party media? And that requires an ongoing maintenance. You need to revisit that strategy at least quarterly, if not on a higher schedule with big tentpole type events that happen like the Olympics. And there's a lot of things that can go wrong technically, like pipes break, inbound requests drop, outbound requests drop, signals disappear, new signals come in malformed, and you need a pretty significant map or net to capture simple things that can break, that can hurt your bottom line. So not simple by any means, and you still need people. You just need different people. I've seen that mistake too, where you just get rid of all traditional salespeople and expect the machine to do it. That doesn't work. You need to sell in your PMPs. You need to figure out your PGG strategy. You need people to do that are experts that know how to speak that language.
I think that's an important point. I was having this conversation with a company the other day, and I was basically saying, look, when you go programmatic, it's not that you need less people. You still need probably the same number of people, maybe even more senior, and definitely with different skills. And so I think that's a great call out. Let me get to the next one on my list. And this is a fallacy I used to hear all the time. I still hear it from time to time from chief revenue officers and heads of sale. They say something along the lines of, don't go programmatic because it means lower prices. Life is better when you have premium hand-sold inventory. By going programmatic, you're going to get more demand, but it will be lower quality ads at lower prices. So true, false, where do you come out on this topic of, does your ad mix and your price change as you go programmatic?
It's not binary. You're not guaranteed to be better or worse if you go in that direction versus not going that direction. And not every publisher is the same. So publishers have to be honest with themselves of what inventory do they have and what audience do they have, and how do they want to construct all the demand channels we talked about on the previous question. A publisher with 1,000 small units at the bottom of the page may not be good in premium, and a publisher with video experiences where nobody wants to come to your site to watch video and engagement may not be good at being able to sell that video programmatically. So you have to consider, what do you have as inventory from your audience and your media, and then connect your programmatic strategy to that. If you have a very small audience that comes to your page all day and just sits there, you're not going to be successful in programmatic. Like, you're going to run out of frequency caps quickly.
Tell me, let's talk about dynamic floors. As people move programmatic, they tend to do it because they want to get access to a wider sense of potential demand. They like the efficiencies of an auction. And then at some stage, they're confronted with this idea of, should I be getting more sophisticated and using dynamic floors, particularly in the auction? So I guess the question or the statement is, are dynamic floors for everybody?
More AI-driven or algorithmic solutions is just the state of the industry right now. Moving towards dynamic floors creates some ethical challenges and questions for how you want to operate in a business and how you want to communicate with your partners. So any type of flooring mechanism these days needs to be transparent on what you're doing, and you should be calculating these pre-bid. So you don't want to take in all your bids, then magically decide what makes the most money for you as a publisher. It's more of identifying what the opportunity value is to you as a publisher, declaring that at bid request time, and then letting the demand then choose there. Stay ethical, be transparent on what you're doing, but bid shading on the demand side has caused some challenges on the supply side, was where kind of dynamic flooring is needed to come into place. And they're kind of one of the main drivers to why we moved from second price auction to first price auction in many businesses in the industry, is that battle between who's going to do what on their side of the bid handshake.
And just playing that back, because you used a term that I think, or one thing that not everybody who'll be seeing this is familiar with, is the idea of whether the floors are transparent in an auction. A publisher could choose to make their floors transparent, and meaning broadcasted at the time of the auction and let people know the price that they need to clear. I think you and I have both seen examples historically where that floor price was not broadcast and some pretty shady stuff was going on. But you're summarizing by saying, yes, dynamic floors have a place. They may not be the magic bullet, but if you're going to do them, you need to be sort of ethical and transparent about how they're being used. Is that right?
Correct. And like the other things we talked about, you need to monitor what's happening. It's, don't set and forget, and just make sure you keep an eye on the behavior of your bids coming in and how the technology is responding to it, and work with your technical vendors if you see something that looks awry. But be ethical, be transparent, but use it. It's better than humans.
Okay. Another one where I'm going to be less careful, or a little more careful about saying whether this is a fallacy or not. But one thing that I hear from people that I think you might have a position on is a statement along the lines of, the most efficient market is the one where it's an open auction with everybody bidding in on all of the inventory. So I guess the subtext here is, are open auctions efficient? And is there a role for deal IDs, private marketplaces, where either the inventory is contracted or the number of people bidding on particular inventory is contracted?
I think open auction question is more of, how much do you want to transact your business through that? So before we talk about, are you premium or you programmatic, and in your programmatic space, how much do you want to be from your sales team at PGD and PMPs, or just open? So it's unique per publisher and per business. It can be a healthy part of your revenue stream. It could be your only revenue stream, create some upside challenges where you may max out on where you can go. So you just need to find how much of your business you want to push through each of those channels, and how much effort and time and resourcing do you want to put behind those channels, and then operate your business in that way. It can add value and get gravy into your revenue stream, but standalone is not a business model that you can live off of only being 100% open, in my mind.
Cool. Hey, so tell me, we've hit, I think, 4 major topics. Any last thoughts that publishers need to be keeping in mind as they move programmatic from a primarily managed environment?
Having a marketplace lead or somebody who puts all these pieces together is super important to any business or publisher who's looking to monetize their inventory and their audiences. With the extreme growth in retail media networks and traditional brands looking to get in the space, we're building ad networks again. I remember a long time ago, people said ad networks going to die next year. They're stronger than ever. You need that function in your business to connect all these dots together.
Yeah, one of my key themes right now is a lot of companies are good at the demand side. They have a head of sales or a CRO. A lot of companies are good at the supply side. They have a chief product officer or someone on the consumer side. Not a lot of companies are good at stitching the two together and managing that marketplace that sits in between. I think that's where a lot of companies fall down, just assuming that supply and demand are magically going to come together. Sean, thank you so much for the time. For anyone watching, enjoying this type of content around how to get smarter about the digital advertising space, please subscribe. And Sean, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks, James.